Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. We're here for the February 12th, 2025 Trees and Public Greenery Committee. I see we have quite a few visitors. Thank you. First order of business will be the acceptance of our January 8th minutes. Do we have any comments or questions?
As always, very well written.
Very
Yes.
well written, very complete.
Yes.
Miss Shag was chatty last time, I think.
What else is new?
So moved.
Do we
Accept the amendment.
second? Okay, thank you. So the first item we have here is the Public Realm Improvement Project, and we have had a site walk for this, which was very helpful. And it's for the installation at Ledgewood Drive to put a path into the high school. So I think we have Terrence and Ethan to speak to it. You want to come up?
Yes, sure. I put some color on the plan that you looked at the other day, but I didn't make enough copies for everybody.
We can share.
No, it's very
For that
helpful.
way, for this way.
Thank you. That helps so
It
much.
sure does.
It sure does, yeah.
Terrence, I believe I have your plan set up.
Yeah, that's a black and white drawing though, I think. So that's why I put the,
Okay.
yeah.
I believe that's
C7.
Do we want to go to C7?
Sure. You want to read because. So it's only C1.
This one?
Yes, that is the. Yes.
For the benefit of the public who may be, I don't know if anyone's watching, but should we have Terrence briefly and Ethan explain
Yeah.
the project?
Hi, everybody. Terrence Parker here, landscape architect. So as you know, this is part of the 581 Lafayette development that Mark McNabb's funding, the walk that's off the school property and off the private property that it's currently on, the cut through path. So it starts up at that crosswalk and the cut through takes a straight line from one corner to the other corner. So this has to do a lot of 90-degree turns to stay off the current abutters property and get on the high school property. So the walk goes around the turning circle there, and there's a retaining wall that supports the grade. And then it takes a hard left-hand turn as it heads, along the edge of the fence. Then it takes a hard right turn behind the Greek temple parking lot. And then it meanders through the low point up around the existing pool building. So there's a lot of plant removals that Haley Ward has designated out there, particularly the ones that you saw, the row of pines directly behind the Greek temple there. So prior to that, it's full of invasive plants, and mostly the bittersweet vine, as you saw the other day, was, really disforming and denigrating almost every plant out there. So all those vines will be removed with the cut and dab technique, leaving the root system in the ground. And all the plants are presently marked in orange. The larger trees are going to be removed. So that the path meanders through there. So the proposed trees don't start until the edge of the Greek temple parking lot, as you can see where Peter's pointing right there. So there's a row of red maples there to shield the view from the athletic fields to the parking lot. So that'll be a consistent canopy between the walkway and the parking lot. And so those trees are on the public right away, and they're at the toe of the slope, so they're not on the slope. And then the path meanders around through there. So the plants that I've chosen are mostly seed or berry bearing, the red maples, the sassafras, the gray dogwood, the low growth sumac, and the white spruce that kind of define where the bends are there. So all the material in there will be removed except that one pine near the sassafras. Peter, can you point out that one pine there? Yeah, that's in the planting, the
little bit.
Right
Right
there.
there, yeah, that big pine that you saw the other day will remain, that's unencumbered by vines and it's in good health. And then there's some clusters of trees to the north, that are also will remain too. So the planting plan consists of red maples, sassafras, gray dogwood, low growth sumac and white spruce. So the other thing that's a little unique about this is that they're clustered like they would in nature, and proposing to use some smaller versions of the sassafras, because they'll probably be planted in a root zone where all those existing shrubs and vines are being removed. So it's easier to put smaller plants in, and sassafras has a better survival rate when it's done in a container and smallish. So there's a lot of habitat, very producing. And it'll be cleared, and it also will have street lights, pedestrian lights along the way that. Yeah, so Ethan, have I missed anything?
It's a pretty good overview, yeah. Yeah, like Terrence pointed out, the whole goal was to get off the private property that the students were crossing. And if you, up by the cul-de-sac, we're proposing a small retaining wall, just to fight the grade a little bit, and make some room for picnic tables and stuff, and it's kind of it'll be a nice little barrier to tell the students to not walk there. And as Terrence pointed out in the field when we were walking, along that sharp 90-degree corner, we're gonna restore that stone wall to also prevent the kids from hopping on that trail again. So should look pretty nice once done.
So it's all a paved path. I think it's 8 feet wide
8
for,
feet wide.
because the high school wanted to get a pickup truck to maintain that area.
Yep.
And I think part of this plan is to restore the basketball court in the cul-de-sac,
Yeah.
even though it's not, part of the trees and green, but you saw that was a dilapidated backboard there, over there on the lower left-hand side of that turning cul-de-sac.
Yeah, any thoughts or questions? I know we kind of went really thorough on the site walk with this, but anyone have any final thoughts or?
Well, like with a traffic survey, are the students that use the parking lot over at Margaritas, are they the ones that are coming through here? Or do they go further down and cut across?
Well, they park behind, as part of the Lafayette, the 581 Lafayette. There's a lot of parking there, as I mentioned in the fact, there's you can see where they hide alcohol in the shrub mass over there at that 581.
Not our kids.
What's that? So you don't know exactly where they're coming from. They filter in from that whole area.
Right.
And then you can see that there's a goat path that's cutting through there. But I don't know exactly where they're coming from. But they also park behind the Greek temple. So this serves that whole community. So that whole community on that end can get to, the high school facilities.
And I would say even residents of that,
Yeah.
that area there, I mean, that's the indoor pool that's public, so.
Yeah,
that
I think it's a
serves-
great
that
asset.
serves greater
Yeah.
than just the student body. It serves that.
The
whole
athletic
community.
track and the
Yeah.
Jones Woods,
Yeah.
at the landfill. So there's a huge demand for.
So
And
the actual,
historically, we've seen, a lot of traffic, kids climbing over, cutting blocks to get through the gates.
all right.
So it's nice to provide a formal alternative.
So this path was actually worked out with the high school staff and the client and Haley Ward.
Mhm.
So it's a collaborative.
I think that overall, it's a great project. Your plant material choice again is just stellar. I have a little bit of concern about, taking those white pines down by that one field, what kind of impact that's going to have. That wind buffer will go away, and there might be a little bit of shift with, I don't know if the water's going to change in that backfield. I know I spent a lot of time there with lacrosse with my kids. So it's just a thought that I, thought about. But overall, it's a great project, very worthy.
Well, that's why there's the row of red maples that parallel the removal of the white pine row. So the path is actually right through the white pines. So yeah, I don't think you can put a path that area without going right through the white pines.
I
So
understand that.
that's why there's that red maple row
Mhm.
between the parking lot and the athletic fields.
Those things are pretty dangerous too. There's, I don't know if you saw, there's probably a 20-foot widowmaker just hanging from behind some.
Mhm.
Oh, right.
So,
Mhm.
they're on their last leg,
Mhm.
and if it's either that or wait for them to come down on someone's car or something. So
No problem.
they're in tough shape.
So all that debris that we walk through, that's on the private property, or is that in any way?
Oh, the debris on
Adjacent to
the
this.
path? That's on the private property, so that's some kind of fill that happened. I don't know when that happened, but it's all fill and hunks of asphalt that, yeah, so that's why that was elevated there. So I don't, that's gonna remain. We're not removing that.
So I just have two quick questions. The Acer rubrums are gonna be 1 to 1.5 inch caliper. I'm assuming that's because they are limited to size of the trees based on all the root systems.
Well, plus that's,
Of
I
those
think, the
pines in
minimum
there.
standard for the city is the 1.5 to 2, so that's where we can put a normal size plant, because I think it'll be better terrain to plant a ball and burlap, so the sassafras is the one in the containers, because survives better when it's in a container.
Yeah. And then I'm assuming everything in and around these new plantings will be mulch bed or
Yeah, that's all on the
natural.
right,
environment.
there'll be the mulch circle around each plant, and that's in the part of the detail sheet. So there's the planting detail, that's that's the city. I think that's borrowed
Yep,
from the city
Those are,
detail,
yeah,
yeah,
those
so
are directly from us.
I used to have a different detail until I was corrected by the city. So we're following the city standards on all the plant materials, except the size of the sassafras.
Parents, just a question, and I apologize, missed the sidewalk. What is the timeline for this phase of the project? Do we anticipate that this being on the end of the redesign, rehab, the project on above the golf, the 581? Or do we anticipate this being completed before the construction of the buildings?
I think it's gonna be before,
Okay,
but I'm
we're
not
not,
in a position to be
Okay.
definitive about that.
I reached out to the owner, and I haven't heard an answer back yet.
Okay.
but as soon as I know.
yeah, if you, as soon as you know, if you could just let the committee know so that we can,
I would imagine it would be scheduled around the school.
that's what I was thinking.
So I don't think they would go ahead and just do it in the middle of the school schedule, so.
Yeah, but it'd be nice if it could be earmarked or tried to be earmarked for completion for next school, the start of next school calendar. That
So
would,
what we'll do is we'll pursue
Yeah.
that question and then get back to Max
cool.
with an answer about that.
Thank you.
And you wanted to do fall planting anyway.
And I wanted to do a fall planting anyway
That might
because
fall
it's,
into place.
easier to maintain trees in the fall,
Yeah.
September, because you don't have the same watering demands.
This summer, yeah.
So, but that doesn't mean that clearing can't happen before then, but I will get back to you about that.
Thank you.
Okay, are we ready to take a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Need a motion.
Right.
No, oh, sorry, we need a motion.
Well, we need a motion that I just wanted, there's public here, and if
Oh,
there
yeah.
was desire to speak to
Oh.
this issue, just wanted to double check.
Look at us. Is there anyone?
Would
from-
any, would anyone like to speak to this issue? From the public? No? Thank you. Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept the proposal as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, and can we take a vote?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Unanimous.
And
Very much.
thanks for throwing this.
Thank
in.
you.
Yeah.
This was really a useful. Of course, I had to get the magnifying glass
Yeah, I
out,
know.
but I love this.
Tiny little
Yeah.
stumbled upon.
It's fabulous. Thank
Yeah,
you.
like,
Thank you. Very
these things-
complete. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
kids before. It's great use.
Yes.
Hey, Max, do you want to?
Yeah,
us
is there
through?
anybody here? I know we have people from Shearwater Drive. do we all, do you all want to come up? That's our first or our next item.
Do you have figures for that or?
Figures? Oh, yes, yeah, there should be a lot.
The building will stay as is, and the apartment complex wraps around with outside and back. Four-story apartments. Does it end? It's not gonna be for 2030, but then it's gonna go. Oh,
Yeah, so right there on that left side of the building.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we have 2 honey locusts over at 45 Shearwater Drive. These were put on my radar by the developers out there for this site. And they're requesting these trees be removed due to some limitations or conflicts with the current plan for construction out there, and they can speak to it a little bit more thoroughly.
Yeah, so initially, I know our.
Oh, and then,
plans-
sorry, introduce yourself,
Oh,
please.
sorry. Sawyer Lord, Superintendent with Chipper Builders, overseeing the project out there. So where we have this house now located, and you can see the T that's coming off that street running on the right side where that porch is, that is an 8-inch gas main. So we've had to shift the home, obviously, to stay away from that, because to dig safely around it. We had to go towards those trees, which originally were going to be left. But in doing so, now that we've staked where the house and where the hole is actually going to be dug, we'll end up digging into the root balls of those trees to be able to, because you have your, you have your house, which is staked out for your box corners, and then obviously digging the hole, we dig it wider to be able to work safely, which will then be into the root balls of 4 of these honey locusts, 2 of which are on our property, 2 of which are on city property. But essentially we'll end up killing the trees.
So this is city property right here?
Correct.
Yeah.
And then Peter, so that very faint, that top tree, so that's one of those trees that's on city property.
Yep.
The next one down
From
is
here.
private, and then, yes, so
That's private.
the third one
That's private.
down. Yep, the third one down is the other tree that we're discussing.
Yep.
Perfect.
So all of these trees will go.
All 4 of them. And,
I wonder why they were cherry picked out. I see.
Yes.
So I'm Kaylin Bowser, I'm project manager with Chinburg Builders, also working on this. So as Sawyer said, that 8-inch gas main prevents us from shifting the house any more left, so it would disrupt the trees, but we would propose post-construction replacing the trees with somewhat mature, 12 to 15-foot trees in their place. And we would replace all 4 to kind of create that nice line of trees again. And we could either do honey locust again or Greensboro lindens, or we're agreeable if you guys have a preference what those would be.
Thoughts?
Well, I have a
Question.
question, because I know this project came to the committee a year or so ago, and we approved removal of trees. And it's not an easy task for us every time we have to approve removal of trees,
Mhm.
especially well-established trees that are healthy. And so I guess my question is really one of process. When we have a developer come back to the committee after, did you not know at the time that you were putting a house at this location? And
The condition that would have changed was location of that 8-inch gas main that we weren't aware. So the gas main feeds the whole neighborhood.
you did not know the gas main was there when you,
No, not
Planned the
not
project.
exact location of that, exactly.
Oftentimes, if I may, dig safes are done based on historic records, and when actual work starts, you determine the true location of some of these things, or there may have been, you have to do a test pit to confirm a location or something like that. So it's not it's not
Unusual.
it's
Uncommon.
not atypical for a project like this to run into something that was unknown.
okay, thank you.
How big are the honey locusts in question?
Substantial.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like,
It's
this
gonna
is what-
change, like when you
they're
come,
beautiful.
when you come into
There's a
that.
photo of that. Oops,
Foot
so sorry.
wide or,
No,
The
they're
canopy is, yeah. the
Yeah.
canopy's got it.
yeah, okay. Yeah, so those are big trees.
They're big trees.
Yeah.
Yes, oh, sorry. I mean, my request would be to get, and I'm not an arborist, but to really look at, as you said, planting somewhat of mature trees or what you can, because it's really gonna change the look of when you come in that area. And there's already a change of that look with the bigger homes going in there. And I also think like noise blocking and, all of the stuff that's going on, especially with potential redevelopment down on Commerce, we want to make sure that that entryway to that area stays. It's a pretty green little nook when you drive down there with the open green space on the right, and then this kind of buffer from Sheerwood and Offsbury. And so that would just be my request, that working with Max and his team, making sure we get things in there too as soon as we can get them within the planting season.
Absolutely.
And there is a consideration to be made when we're planting a large like a large tree from the nursery. So their establishment time, it takes a lot longer for
Longer.
a larger caliper tree to establish versus something that's smaller. So I guess I don't necessarily have a problem going either very large or as large as a nursery is available, or a little bit smaller to encourage more rapid establishment. Just knowing that if we go with something a little big, it may just stay that size for quite a few years until that root catches up with the canopy above ground. And then at which point, then that tree will start to put off new growth. So it's pluses and minuses for both, but yeah, I don't think we need to go as like super big or as big as what's available, but I'm sure there's a nice happy medium available somewhere. So
Question, Max, your opinion, is 4 still the correct number for in here, or do you feel like there's,
I see. Yeah, I mean, I think once because those trees aren't fully mature. I
Yeah.
mean, they're certainly large trees, but if they're honey locusts, right, they have a lot more
More
growing to
growth.
do.
Okay,
So I think
great.
4 is appropriate. If we're looking at what that mature site will be, 20, 30 years down the road. It may look a little sparse if we're putting in something that's, even 3-inch caliper. It's not going to fill the site in the same way that these trees are currently now.
Would it be appropriate to put a conifer in, perhaps part of the?
Again, I see, I mean, if we can go in a few different directions for species selection. I have no problem with
The
that.
year-round sort of
Yeah.
presence, which.
And a lot of feedback that I've received from residents of Shearwater Drive have commented that, a lot of trees have already gone from this site.
Yes.
And that the noise, like they already can discern the difference between what it was like a few years ago versus now. And that, obviously removing trees attributes to that. So getting something in there that maybe is more of a full bodied tree like a conifer, that's certainly not a bad idea, and I don't oppose it.
So just so I'm clear, these trees are going to be dead no matter what.
I think if we decide to keep them, or if the argument is that these should stay, but the construction moves forward, they're putting these trees, they're digging for this foundation right at the base of these trees. So then it becomes the health of the tree is going to rapidly decline if they don't fail out of this site, because they'd be half of that tree's roots are just gone. So stability is now way less than what it was, and health. So if they don't go now, we'd be back there
The tree's
potentially.
gonna look fine after they leave construction. The
Yeah,
problem
for a
comes
couple
2, 3,
years.
5 years down
Right.
the road.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So then you're out
Seen that.
7 years from today, it's tough to lose them today or next week or whatever, whatever it takes down. But then you've stretched that replacement back out 5 to 7 years out, from today as well.
It's not more mature.
So then you've added longer time for those trees to come back.
And then my only other thought about replanting in that site, so obviously this structure is pretty close to where the property line is. I know, so it's very faint on that image right there, but that's a sign for the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So here.
Yeah, ideally, I think if we were to plant these trees on city property as opposed to trying to squeeze them onto that private, onto the private property between, again, the city property and that house. I think those trees would have a better chance of survival long-term if they were in more of a quote protected site like that, undeveloped city property. So that would be my other input, is maybe we can get those trees kicked out a little bit further and they can stay. Cause I don't think the city is going to develop that anytime soon. So
How does this, did I look behind, did we also, is that how you get on that walkway that goes
Yep.
across?
Before the sign.
Right? And
Yes.
we cleared some trees right in that
Yeah.
section.
Yep.
That happened,
Yep.
right?
So we pruned those, there's some evergreen out there that we pruned, and then we
Right.
removed a few interior trees of that ring.
And so I'm this picture
up
that I
right there.
took, so these pines or the greens are gonna stay there after, right?
Yes.
Beyond that, that's not going anywhere. There's no reason for those to go anywhere. I always like to see what row 2 looks like.
Yeah.
Do we have any further questions? We should hear from the public.
Yeah, are there any individuals from the public that would like to speak to these tree removals? Yeah, please come up. Oh, you
Oh,
can-
Could you
come
come
up
up and
and
speak to the,
Oh, Joel, we just need you up here and then, yeah, just it's for the record.
Joel Phelps, I live at 32 Shearwater Drive. I'm direct line of sight for all this. I have a question. Those trees sit on a berm. Is that berm going?
That berm is staying as is per plan, because we weren't thinking that we would be, other than we're digging into it a bit now. But yeah, basically it's staying and we're just shaping around it, once we put the home in the actual ground, the foundation.
And where are those trees are on the property line essentially, right?
Yeah, basically.
They're right on top of the berm. You're gonna be digging around there and you're not gonna take that berm down?
Yeah, well, like I said, we're gonna cut into it for the foundation
Yeah.
hole itself.
Is it gonna be restored in some way? Because the berm goes like this. The trees are on the downhill side facing the road.
Yep.
So if you go up to your property line, it's essentially gone. Is it,
Yeah.
I mean, it would have to be moved onto the city's property.
Yeah,
for
to
there to
keep
be a
that whole
berm.
berm. Yeah, no, we're definitely gonna cut into it.
Is there any way it can be restored? Because the berm is a big piece of shielding the neighborhood from all the traffic on Portsmouth Boulevard and a very noisy intersection at
Mhm.
the corner of Market and Portsmouth Boulevard. Yeah, it's definitely gotten louder. And that's without even your jackhammers. The other thing is, I can't believe you didn't know where that pipe was. There's a big yellow stake in the ground.
Yeah, there is.
And they painted yellow lines in the road months ago because I've been walking by them.
Yeah, no, that's what brought upon this was us locating where it actually is.
And there's no possibility of putting a different shaped house or something like that.
I think if you were to shrink, because you have to be able to stay away, just look odd. I think it'd be very strange in the neighborhood to kind of change.
We'll leave that question alone.
I think that we would still run the risk of digging into the roots of these trees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I can-
Yeah, I mean, we just want to really emphasize
Run
that
risks.
the whole, all the things that have been said by the committee about the approach to the neighborhood, the sound barrier, the sight barrier and everything else. It's, throughout the rest of the project, there's been a lot of trees taken down. I know all the people in Spinnaker Point are thanking you for all the pine trees they took down and everything else. So it's like, whatever gets done, I personally don't have any stake in your building. But I do have a stake in having the neighborhood be livable. And, at this, so far that hasn't been enhanced by the landscape changes that have happened there. And I'd like to make sure that, that the committee comes up with some kind of a solution maybe somewhat like was done opposite the new buildings, done further down on Portsmouth Boulevard on the corner. There was a big office building put in there. There's quite an impenetrable wall of spruces that was put in that shield that house from, a lot of traffic and, having a 4 or 5 story building, staring down on their house. But something along those lines, because it's, again, we're beginning to feel like we're, even more
Creeped in on.
exposed to a noisy neighborhood and, frankly, it's even actually a benefit to the people who are potentially going to buy your houses. Because at this point, it's like, I walk every day up over the bridge and everything like that, and I can practically reach out and touch one of your houses. It's like, I mean, really.
Yeah, we do have plans to replace trees within our property lines throughout the entire neighborhood. I have a screening plan that I can share. So for the trees that were taken, we do have plans trying to create more of a screening, more sound barrier. And then we're agreeable to the committee's wishes as far as creating a nice neighborhood entrance.
Good. I do have a question, because looking at, and driving by there, there's kind of, I don't know if this is a legit term, like a goat path that people walk, like they not on the sidewalk, but to get into there. Is that, is that something that, and I would have to go through Peter and this committee but is that something that would potential, if approved to the city, that Chinburg would look into maybe solidifying that path a little bit more and making it so that way residents don't. I mean, we just talked about, obviously, the project before this, building a path where people walk. And it's on, as you look, it's on that buffer line. Sir, I actually was like, maybe that's you walking through right there on Google. It could be you.
A dog?
No, just some groceries.
Oh.
It looked like an AI plant, but it's a real human, but maybe something could be brought back to the committee, a site plan review. Of course, I'm looking at Peter. of
A
ma-
public realm improvement.
Yeah,
moment?
public realm improvement, as we're planting new trees in that buffer and looking through kind of what else could be beneficial for the neighborhood of where people migrate naturally.
Yeah, nobody walks. up
Nobody
the
walks that-
corner and
yeah.
down.
Take that, sure.
No.
The sidewalk is still gonna be replaced in front of on your
Yeah,
side of
it's
the
on our
road,
side.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
That's something we could definitely look into.
Yeah, and if you,
I, before the city commits to something.
Yes, that's why.
uh, that went through a site review
Yes.
approval, which would, would require administrative
Yes.
approval through the planning board, which is or the planning department, which is not an issue. I would want a clear consensus from the neighborhood that, yes, this is something you're interested in. Oftentimes people like unimproved areas so that they don't feel like it's, they can walk their dog and it's like not as manicured. So before we take on additional maintenance, I would want to know that the neighborhood is interested in this. So speaking as a member of one. Two.
I think it's just in terms of people choosing by where they walk. That's where everybody walks, at least when it's either when there's no snow on it or people have packed it down. It's rare that anybody walks out and around unless they're pulling a
Okay.
grocery cart or something.
All right. Well, we're happy to work with you guys to see if we can execute that.
I had a little and big brothers, big sisters and lived in Osprey Landing and we would walk that path all the time. And so then it was solidified when I saw it on Google, but it was just an idea. Obviously, I am not in the higher offices. So all of those things, you guys know, you've built in Portsmouth, the approvals and through Peter and stuff that you have to go through. But again, as there's a pretty high impact on this very small part of a neighborhood for these new buildings. Again, anything that we can do that feels like an added perk to that impact.
and then obviously if you share any kind of plan or you mentioned screening or landscaping, if you share that with me, I can distribute it to the rest of the committee.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't see how you can do any kind of meaningful screening without it being on the city property.
Sure.
It's just not gonna happen. That, you know, it'll, the trees will be touching the house within
Yeah.
10 years.
For sure.
So,
We can't do something for sure.
Thank you.
Future property owner problem.
Any further question? Oh, yes.
Yes, come on.
Hi, my name is Joanne Lindbaum and I live at 26 Shearwater Drive, which is pretty much right across the street from the house. It's almost done, the blue house. And I guess I have a question about the trees that have been replaced on the berm already. I know it's winter, but do you have any sense of what the health of those trees is right now?
Trees on the berm. Oh,
That were cut down
Yeah,
farther
cut
down?
open that swath.
Yeah.
That was all, my understanding is all those trees are on private property. Is that correct?
They're on the
Yeah.
berm, on the berm.
Correct, but on the,
Oh,
on
okay.
the private property
Okay.
side.
Yeah, they're not looking too good, but I don't know what that
Okay.
means. And then the other thing, and this just really doesn't have anything to do with trees, but sort of. I look at the site plan, you know, the advertisement for the development that's posted outside. And it's just really clear to me that that lot has been considered a problematic lot in one way or another because it's flipped. The way the sign is posed at the entrance, this lot that we're looking at is at the far end and not the closer one. I don't know what that has to do with anything other than I just don't understand how we can be getting so far without any sense of really what the condition is, you know, with the gas line. And I know you've spoken to that, but just, I don't know. It just looks to me like it's been known to be a problematic lot for many reasons. You know, the walkway, the trees, everything. It's not a desirable lot by any means. And that's all I have to say about that. But also, I do take the sidewalk. I don't take the path because I'm counting my steps. And I get more steps if I take the sidewalk. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So just for my clarification, it would appear that the path runs along this edge right here
Yep.
currently.
Yes, right on the
So,
outside.
so planting trees
Is that where it's gonna?
would either, yeah, you'd either be planting it where the path is,
Yeah.
or you'd be putting a path right along the edge of a person's property line, within 3 or 4 feet of a building. So, you know, I would think if we were gonna do something that, you know, maybe it comes around that cuts the other side of the corner or something like that, just to.
Okay.
I'm wondering if you could zoom out, just wondering about that gas line and where it goes, where it comes from. Does that feed in, is that going to be feeding into this new?
Is the new
House
development
here,
well, it
or
so
is-
it runs the length of the road too. I don't know specifically what that 8-inch feeds, but I know ours are tapped, obviously. You have a bigger gas main, 10 inch.
Yeah,
that's
you can
running
see the
on-
gas run up here and then it goes in this direction and it's also probably goes. I don't see where it goes. It looks like it goes up this way as well, but I don't see it on this section.
Yeah.
There is gas that crosses the road because at least the first 2 houses on the, on my side of the other side of Shearwater, the gas goes actually between the houses on Shearwater and the houses on Blue Heron.
Hmm.
So it's winding around there, and I suspect it may end up going straight through and popping out on Blue Heron not Blue Heron, Sanderling, to service all those buildings.
I guess the reason I bring it up, I'm just trying to think outside the box here. And I have no idea what the cost would entail, but has there been any investigation into diverting that gas line versus, you know, you're talking about 12 to 15 foot trees, those are costly trees, so
Mhm.
maybe it's something to look into.
It's shut down, yeah.
Because it's, I think the gas main it's feeding existing houses in the neighborhood. So trying to not disrupt
disturb
Undisturbed.
people's gas. I don't know what that would look like plus during now to winter time. Can't leave people without. Yeah.
Have you looked at the price? Have you looked at the price of relocating it?
And relocating now.
I mean, it's a lot of digging either way in my mind. It's a lot of disturbance either way. It's just sort of like there are these old trees and, you know, preserve the feeling of those old trees or.
So what it feeds, what exact neighborhoods that goes across the street to those.
Yeah,
I don't know.
just a thought, you know. Again, I'm not aware of the cost comparison. Not
So you
qualified
haven't-
to say either way.
Sorry, you haven't spoken to Unitil at all about
No,
options?
We've been trying to avoid, because I mean, like I said, it'll be, I'm assuming it'll be overnights too to do it. Springtime, like, we're trying to avoid disturbing an existing gas main that feeds residents.
Understandable.
What we've been trying to do.
Well, they replaced the gas main from.
Excuse me, could
Oh.
you come up? Thank you.
Little helps. The gas main was replaced, less than 10 years ago.
Yep.
From about where that kind of dark line goes from the shaded box to the street, all the way down to through Spinnaker Point. And they did it without shutting our gas off for any meaningful period of time. So just, you know, in terms of that, I mean, whether it's the desirable thing or not, somebody else has to figure it out, but the gas company seems to manage to be able to work around that just like the power company does.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments? Do we have a motion to remove?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion, with I don't know, the contingency of further, site plan details and in landscape details in a report back from Max. So I guess like a moderate approval for a 30-day review or something like that. I don't know if that's, I look at Peter and Pat.
Yeah, I would suggest, and I don't know what your time frame is in terms of when you want to get shoveling ground. I know you're doing
Yeah.
work elsewhere right now. But it would be, I think it'd be prudent to draw something up and then, you know, come back and get the planning director's administrative approval with our, you know, our concurrence, and then we can report back.
That's fine with me. Amended Stephanie as whatever Peter said.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, it's one more step. But it seems like it's an appropriate step in the process.
Okay, so what's the full motion?
So, move to approve, approval of,
Removal contingent upon
contingent upon
Uh,
approval of,
site improvements as approved by planning department and DPW staff.
that's the motion that I made.
Do we have a second?
Oh, well,
Oh,
technically,
well, it was Dennis's motion.
That started friendly amendment.
friendly amendment, do you approve the
Yes.
Perfect, there we go.
Do we have? Well, who seconded it?
Me.
Okay, thank you. All right. Do we have a vote? Do we have approval? Chair's voting no.
Aye.
All in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
No,
No,
we have 3 no's.
not at this juncture.
Okay. Okay, I guess.
So
thank
the
you.
ayes have
Passes.
it,
Passes
4-3.
reluctantly.
Yes.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
3, that means 2 abstentions.
That's, I took Max and Peter Fritz to make sure that what they approve. Well, it is a.
Okay.
It's in our charter.
Say yes.
Oh,
Okay.
I'd love to say no.
So we have one resident here Which tree are you here for?
I'm here for, well, both the tree on, well, there's a silver maple, and I'm not sure the species max on the other tree.
On
You're
Woodbury,
here
It's
for
on
Miller Ave?
Miller.
Miller Avenue.
And you could I have your name,
Yep.
please?
My name's David Hudlin. I live at 260 Miller Avenue.
260 Miller Ave.
Yeah, so my house is situated, if
So
you
they're
know
just
Miller
photos.
Avenue, I'm on the southbound side of Miller Avenue, right
Yes.
between Lincoln and Spring Street.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm located. And I'm here to speak to a couple of situations. Firstly, obviously, if you know Miller Avenue, you know it's a very heavily trafficked and traveled street. And also, I've lived there for 18 years, and the speed limit is exceeded quite frequently on Miller, despite the 25-mile-per-hour posting. So the first tree I wanted to speak about was the silver maple tree, which is situated pretty
That's at
close.
274 Miller.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's pretty close to, the
Hold on,
corner
let
of
me get
Spring
to-
Street
the
and
Lincoln.
Miller.
Yeah.
And my main concern about that tree is from a safety perspective. That tree, if you ever try to exit onto Miller, just even without a site obstruction, if you exit onto Miller, let's say from Spring, and you want to go northbound on Miller,
Not that
so you're
one.
crossing over lanes, you're looking at traffic in both directions. If you look left to look at the southbound traffic coming your way, that silver maple, which is very large, blocks your view of oncoming traffic coming southbound. So you're looking left and right, and you see traffic coming southbound, it's blocked quite frequently for a second or two, so, and I myself and other residents have experienced many times where you try to nose out onto Miller from Spring, and a car will be on top of you very quickly, because if you look at the cross section of Lincoln and Spring, which is just where there's a crosswalk there, there's a crest of a hill, and cars come up over that hill and they're on you in, a second or two. So that silver maple, when you try to exit onto Miller from Spring, poses a sightline issue. I included some photos, which I gave Max, which is the photos, I don't know what order they're in, or I can't tell from looking at them, but I've given you some photos of where you're on Spring, trying to get out onto Miller, looking left at that tree, and you can see cars coming down southbound on Miller, and you can see that you can't see them. The cars will come down, then you can't see them. for a
Over the
second.
crest of the,
Yeah,
that's for the other tree though.
showed-
That was the
Yeah,
250.
show
Little
some of the
League
other
Linden.
pictures that I took, so I took my car, tried to get out into Miller. And if you look at pictures I've taken looking left, you can see the cars coming down in sequence over southbound on Miller, and you cannot see the cars, you'll see them, and then they'll be blocked. So those cars, if
That's
they
one
had,
right there.
but there are other photos that I've
it is down
taken,
perhaps.
if you could find them in the sequence where you're looking from Spring Street up the street. The cars are blocked, your view of the cars are blocked. And on many occasions over the 18 years I've been there, I've seen cars, even for myself personally, you nose out, and they don't see you, you don't see them, they go around you. I've heard screeching tires from cars literally having to come to a halt because somebody's pulled out from Spring, not seeing cars coming down Miller.
Okay.
Did anybody,
No,
has anybody driven their own cars? Cause so
Yes.
immediately following this, I was on Spring Street trying to enter
Yeah.
Miller, and I did not have the same, there are intersections across the city that are very similar to this, and I approached it how I always do and felt that it wasn't a difficult intersection to drive through, so.
So
And I would just respectfully disagree with that
Sure,
comment.
absolutely.
Because I've lived there for 18 years and I can tell you that you try to ease out onto Miller and you try to look left on Spring, try to look left on Miller, southbound traffic is very difficult to pick up because you have a little blind spot there with that tree. And that Miller's not a typical street. It's not like you're on a side street where you've got little to no traffic and the traffic that is there is moving slowly. That traffic moves very quickly down Miller. So that's my main concern with that tree. And in addition to that, we live on 260 Miller. So like a lot of people on Miller, we have to back out onto Miller Avenue. So if you're at my house at 260 Miller, now let's say you're backing out onto Miller, that's my driveway. You're backing out, picture yourself backing out, and you're looking left to see northbound traffic coming, and you're looking you're looking left to see southbound traffic coming, and you're looking right to see northbound traffic. That northbound traffic, because of where you are in your driveway, that tree, that silver maple also blocks your view of northbound traffic. So you can't see very well around that silver maple looking left as you're backing out to see northbound traffic. So it's not just exiting Spring onto Miller. It's also for folks backing onto Miller. Let's say you want to go across 2 lanes to head north on Miller. You have to look at that tree and see traffic coming north. And also that tree there, which you see, which is the other tree, also can obscure, as you can see, for again, traffic heading south over the cross section of Lincoln and South Miller. That's also blocking traffic.
Okay, I think we
So-
have it. Thank you, Mr.
So
Hudlin.
it's just, it's very difficult. It's
No, I
Traffic
understand.
from both directions that exceeds the speed limit. And it's it's dangerous in my opinion. I know this has been brought up in the past. I've spoken to many residents. I don't want to come here, speaking for the entire neighborhood, but I can just tell you that I've lived there 18 years. Most people have, they live on Spring Street, other folks, they've been there since I've been there. And they've all commented on the same thing about the difficulties of getting onto Miller and the positioning of that tree, how it presents some dangerous situations. So that was my main concern.
Mr. Chair,
Max? Oh,
I make a motion to refer this to our traffic engineer to evaluate the site distances at this spot.
Second.
I can elaborate if,
no, it's fine. Good
So,
idea.
yeah, I'll have Eric take a look at it.
Okay,
And
thank
he can
you.
report back to us.
That's a great idea.
Yep.
Okay,
Great.
Okay,
So no motion
So
for
we're-
removal.
no motion.
Favor?
motion for,
Yes. Do we have a vote that there's no
Yes.
motion?
Now, there was a motion,
There's a
a
motion.
second,
Can,
to refer to Eric Eby.
yes,
and
right.
he will
Traffic
report
engineer.
back to us.
He will
And
report
then
back to us.
Thank you.
That's right. That's comfortable.
Yeah, because I've spoken like,
Thank you.
yeah, I just want to say, because Max mentioned Eric, and I think I've spoken to him in the past, and Miller's just notorious for problems regarding traffic and speed, and I've asked them about, can you put barriers, like speed bumps here or there? to
Trees help.
Slow traffic.
Trees help slow people down. It tells you you're in a neighborhood. I feel strongly about that. We talk about that a lot. I think taking those trees down would be a signal to go
Even faster.
even faster. I truly believe that personally.
Yeah.
So
I-
And I
that's
feel like
my.
it's a struggle.
So
too,
there's a
'cause it's already
motion,
So
there's a
there's
motion on
on the
floor?
table to,
All in
Okay.
favor?
aye,
Aye.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for
We'll
coming.
Revisit it.
Thank you very much.
And what happens after this? I'm just curious. I'm not familiar with that process. So what's the timeline?
The traffic engineer will evaluate
And report back.
and report
To our
back, and then the city,
to the
the
committee.
committee can
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
revisit.
And we'll revisit it.
And then there are notes that you publish. But Like if I wanted to know what the
Yeah, the
We have
follow
minutes.
through.
committee, Madam Chair.
Yeah, we have
Right.
minutes that are published every month that we have a recording secretary who's listening right now. And the minutes will be reported and the traffic engineer will report back to the committee for further discussion.
Okay. All right,
It will all be publicized, so
Right,
you'll know.
very transparent.
thank
And
you.
and you could watch the recording next time at home.
All right, fine.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming.
Do we have, we may have a participant for the next tree. I do not- Or is that just? you?
No, that's just me.
Okay, never mind then. All right.
I attend every meeting.
So diligent.
All right, so no one else is here, so we can move on to these remaining requests. So 1 Marriott Drive, 1 Red Maple, fair condition. This is a resident request, but my impression of the tree is that it does not need to be removed. There are a lot of surfaced roots that I believe the previous owner of the home was driving over, so it is causing, or there was a lot of root damage caused to this tree. I don't know if it's currently an issue for the current homeowner, but this tree isn't in the best shape. I marked it as fair condition because there is quite a bit of uniform dead throughout the entire canopy of the tree. Yeah, we can get in there and prune and sort of raise it and see how it does first for removal. But if the tree does continue to decline over a certain period of time, I don't know, we can go back and do the removal at that point in time. But for right now, I express this to the homeowner that it doesn't appear to be a tree worthy of a removal at this point in
I
time.
make the motion to not remove this tree at this point and to approve pruning of that tree and to watch it.
Perfect.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So, 620 Woodbury, 1 Norway Maple. Sorry, Peter, I'll let you catch up.
Okay.
So I was actually put on notice for 620 Woodbury and 673 Woodbury. If you went out there and looked up, these trees are under some transmission lines. And the notice, to the left a little bit more still, Peter. So that tree under those transmission lines, and then if you go across the street, there's a Norway Maple. Not quite as under, so yeah, right there next to the rock wall. So those 2 trees, I received a notice from Eversource saying they're gonna come in and top, which is it's an inappropriate pruning method, but for the site and what they need to receive for clearance of those trees, that tree, again, not as significant of topping, but if we take a look at the tree across the street, that one is just, it gets topped year over year over year over year. So my proposal is, instead of wasting resources on pruning these trees, we remove them and then get something underneath those power lines that's more appropriate for the site. And coincidentally, when I was posting those trees, I didn't realize this, but those trees had come up for removal at some point because the homeowner came out and said, "Oh, why you're posting our trees again?" And like, no, I didn't know we were doing this a second time. But his concern was that there would be nothing put back, that the stump would be left. And I told him that was simply not true, that we would get in there and put other trees in that would be more appropriate for that site. And he was totally agreeable with that.
Could you put a couple of trees in that?
Absolutely,
On each
yes.
side, because
Yep.
it seems really open and,
Absolutely. Yeah. So the
Yeah, it's got from this tree.
yeah,
to
you have a lot of
this tree.
space.
You got a
That
lot
would
of
be
Yes.
kind of interesting.
absolutely.
It's a great planting space.
Yeah.
because it's
Great.
Wide open. and-
So as of right now, so I saw these, I only saw this because of the notice from Eversource. Had I known about this months prior, I would have likely been able to plant trees this spring. However, if, so every tree planting site is assigned a tree. I have no extras, but if people refuse trees, perfect opportunity to throw something in there. If those trees are removed, I wouldn't want to plant something too close to where these trees are. In the event that we go out and do these removals and unfortunately damage something, I'd rather play a little bit safer, do the removals first, do the stump grinding, and then next year, 2026, get a bunch of ornamentals.
So we're talking about
sites.
620 and 670.
Correct. Yep. So 620 Woodbury and 673 Woodbury.
I would make, oh, are we finished talking?
I'm also, yeah, almost set.
Yes. we
I
are.
would make a motion to take both of these trees with the expectation that we would be replacing them with several trees on each side of Woodbury
Absolutely,
in a timely fashion.
of course.
Do we have a second?
I'll second
Dennis? And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I was wondering, where's Scott?
Scott, I believe since so Scott Richardson was the,
Rep.
he was the, like a Northern Tree Service and Eversource liaison that would come here, to every meeting. And, he was actually reassigned to another region,
Oh.
2 years ago.
And we
actually.
didn't get anybody?
We have someone.
He hasn't been here in 2 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like it's.
We've
shows
had,
how much
we've had like,
Yeah, mine.
we've had like 2 or 3 Eversource arborists since, so.
Get the
Poor,
skinny guy.
poor Peter, that loadout was awfully hard on you, wasn't it?
I'm sorry.
Um, anyway, right up the road on Woodbury still, so 710 Woodbury, there's this ash tree that either appeared to be topped again or for utility line purposes, or it had some kind of failure, a natural failure, but either way, it's in poor shape to the, is that it right there? It would be, no, it'd be on the other side of the road. There it is, right there. Yep. So,
This one or that one?
that one on the right hand side.
That one, right?
Just a scraggly looking tree.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't anticipate much of a recovery, but another great opportunity. So if we remove all these 3, that next year, that would free up another planting site for an ornamental underneath those lines.
Good. Do we have a motion to remove?
So moved.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, Cass Street at Middle.
That's at middle, so what prompted this removal was a limb had failed a little bit ago, and then finally getting around to actually looking at the state of this tree, there's still some decent dead wood, and if you go a little bit down Cass, it'll be on the right-hand side.
Right there.
Yep, that's it right there.
This one?
Yep. So it's definitely in a rough spot. Well, not the location, but its health, its general vigor is pretty low. It is in Norway. And yeah, I optioned only pruning it, but I think by the time we're actually out of there, a removal would have been more appropriate. So that's why I'm here to seek removal today.
But what about that tree closer to us? That's looking,
Which one?
no, the other way, Peter. Are we talking about both of those?
Nope, we're just talking about that one right
This
there.
one.
Yep.
This one.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Yes.
So you guys already went in and pruned it, is what you're saying?
We have not pruned it
Oh,
yet.
okay.
No, a decent sized limb, a larger limb, it might have been the one that's broken right there. I'm not sure, but it was just laying on the ground when someone was sidewalk tractoring earlier in the season. And then finally getting out to investigate it. Again, pruning, we can always prune and see how it does, and it but I think once we're done removing all the dead wood and anything that's either partly declined, I think we wouldn't be left with a perfectly good tree. So
I'll make a motion to remove it.
I have a second.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Reluctantly, aye.
Aye.
and for the final removals, FW Hartford Drive. So this is in a planting bed. And if you go to the other entrance of FW Hartford near Taft.
Mhm. How long have those been there? How old are those trees?
Right there.
Yeah,
They don't look like they're too old.
no, I don't think so.
15
They look
years.
young.
Yeah, 15, 20, I'd imagine. But yeah, no, just,
New
Um,
neighborhood.
Yeah.
Again.
Right in the island.
yep, those 3 right in there.
Mhm. What's the undergrowth?
So I'm not, so, we maintain the trees because it's in that right of way space inside the road. I believe the neighborhood takes care of all of
Yeah, the islands.
yeah, so
Oh.
I'm not sure, but I know they absolutely have someone come in and do the gardening for it, and it does look really nice, so.
That'll just be a cut, not a grind?
We would grind it as well, depending on what utilities are underground. I'm not sure, it may be irrigated as well.
Oh.
We would have to really look into it. And then tree planting, as far as tree planting goes, I'm not sure what we would end up doing here. It would probably take some coordination with whoever is in charge of that planting bed. So I can't guarantee or say we will replant, but if they have something else in mind and they want to take ownership of that, that's absolutely fine. So,
Max, I think we should check with the site development
okay,
agreement to see the development may be responsible for replacing those trees
okay.
at their cost.
I think based
Okay.
on the HOA.
Okay,
Yeah, would it be an HOA for the
I
woodlands?
just moved in that
Speaking as a new
neighborhood, so I
member.
read that.
Wow, okay.
Okay, relax. It's like I live in Elwyn.
She lives on the edge of Elwyn.
Wait a minute, I see that nose going up a little.
So Peter would be within that may be language in the
To get away
development
from the
agreement,
highway.
Peter?
It may well, we'll have to check
Okay.
with that.
I'll make a motion if we're finished chatting. I'll make a motion to remove those 3 trees, working with that neighborhood and being respectful of the undergrowth and the status of what's going
Absolutely.
on. Doing what you normally do.
If
To-
I could
to word it.
clarify that,
Please.
if they are our trees and our responsibility, I would say we would not work with the neighborhood. We would
Oh,
just do what we felt was appropriate.
That would be fine.
But first is to check whether they're responsible for that, for the trees.
Okay.
do we
Alrighty.
need to reword the motion?
I
Hmm.
motion to remove those 3 trees.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Okay.
No?
Come back with your motion.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And that is it for removal requests.
Can't believe we're this busy in the wintertime. You have
Trees never
good-
stop.
Very good eyes.
Okay, new business. Peter, would you like to,
Karen, co-chair.
sure. I make the motion that I nominate Patricia Bagley to be chair. And Michael to be vice chair.
Second.
Oh,
I third it. Unanimous.
voted on half.
Thank you so much.
No, that was just.
that was vice chair.
Okay. Shows you how much I know.
And that we all need to re-up our oaths.
All in favor?
On the
Do we have an all in
You
favor
signed?
for that?
All in favor? Yes.
Aye.
We're gonna vote. Aye.
Aye.
It's assuming Michael's willing to accept.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll serve in her absence.
Chair, just what, do we still have an open position?
Yes.
Yes.
Currently,
We do.
And,
one.
okay, I'm gonna,
One.
because we had that Ian who came one time, I'm gonna harp on him.
And he said that he's
Yes.
going to go through the process and do an application.
I'm gonna remind him.
As well as we've had a couple other people that have expressed interests and I encourage them to go through the process. It
And-
takes a little while,
Process is they send a letter to the,
application to the city
City
council and then the mayor.
You
Your
start with the
application,
city clerk.
yeah, the city clerk has a listing of the openings, and then you can, because on the application, it asks if you've reached out to the chair, so a lot of people through the city clerk's office will be reach out to chair. It's not necessary, and then it goes in front of the mayor, and then it goes in front of the council.
it's not as painful as that.
The chairman, the chairman and I are trying to clean up the website so that it refers to the
Yes.
numbers properly.
Yay.
So we'll get that all updated and
Right,
make progress.
Yeah,
Good.
there's been a little confusion,
yes,
but
great.
you're fixing it. So, do we have any old business?
Do you have a list of what's coming?
For trees?
Yeah.
I believe yes, I can either distribute that via email or just bring that list in, but I think there's really only been 1 or 2 substitutions since the original order was placed back in September. So everything any kind of substitution that's been made so far has either been a caliper change because they couldn't provide something larger, or the other one was We had Celestial dogwood ordered, but they weren't able to fill any Celestial dogwood, so I believe we just got some kind of Coosa dogwood as a replacement. Yeah, I can,
That's not
yeah.
a boo-hoo. It's nice.
what's that?
That's not a boo-hoo.
No, nope,
nice.
nope, very agreeable exchanges for sure, so.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
To adjourn.
We have
Hey.
a motion to adjourn.
Second it.
Look at this. So they said we rented out the,
Great.
the ice
You
cream.
wanna keep this?
No, no,
No,
okay.
okay.
I tried to make it so that